All right. Good evening, everyone. Ayan. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alpha TV. Of course, brought to you by Aslex Page Academy, making you hashtag significantly better. Yan. So for tonight, I will be your host, your speaker, and a little bit of your marketing guy for the latter part of tonight's session. But let's first acknowledge entities who contributed to making this particular episode successful. Of course, our partners, iExcel, CIE Review Center. We have Blessed, Startup Podcast PH, Tuos, the first Filipino cloud-based analytics platform. You can still get the 90-day trial offer if you go to alphatuos.com. And it's so weird because we're a little bit low in terms of manpower for this particular evening. Some of us are on vacation and some of us are on leave or is sick. So yeah. So I'll be doing it the usual when we started a couple of years back. So again, my name is Felix Viroya. I'll be your speaker. So maybe I should share. Yeah. So I'll be your speaker for tonight's session on Alpha TV, specifically on the topic called Sustainability Best Practices in the Manufacturing Industries. So we'll be spending the next couple of minutes to explore what are the things that we need to know or the things that are currently being practiced by some organizations, not only here in the Philippines relative to sustainability, but also outside the Philippines that we can adopt if we are here as employees from manufacturing industries. So we could implement it or integrate it or suggest it to people who can make it happen. If you're here as a student, sorry for that. If you're here as a student, you can actually get some ideas for your capstone or for your research or for your thesis. And also, as you move forward to becoming young professionals, you could also bring this as things that you could suggest to your future organization or to uh, those companies who will be employing you, right, in the near future. So without further ado, I'll be heading to my PowerPoint slide. So if you're here, you have like colleagues or friends that we cannot accommodate anymore here at Zoom because we have a limit of 100. Tell them that they can actually go to YouTube and just search for our channel, Ask Lex PH Academy, and they can have the same experience in terms of this particular session tonight. And they will also have access to the the e-certificate rather, the e-certificate that we will be giving instructions of which later on. But for now, again, let's focus on this particular topic. And if you have questions, please feel free to take note of those questions because we will be getting back to those questions later on the Q&A portion, right? So again, the topic is sustainability best practices for manufacturing companies or industries, as will be delivered by yours truly. Okay. So as promised, you'll have a chance to win one of the five 100 pesos GCash or Maya credits. All you have to do is just to upload a photo of you watching this particular session as a participant. Share that photo, tag our page, maybe Facebook or LinkedIn, Ask PH Academy, and use the hashtag significantly better with Alpha Sustainability. All right, so that we can track your, of course, we can track your participation. So I'm gonna check on first. Yeah, apologies for those who can't join our Zoom session because the registered participants, they're about 230 or 40. So definitely we can only accommodate such here at Zoom. But hello for those people who are joining and watching via our YouTube channel. There are 26 people already, right? So you can also join either Zoom or Facebook. And I'll be posting this on my personal Facebook page. So please also try to look and follow for Felix Concepcion Veroya so that you will know who are the winners of tonight's mini challenge. All right. So just to give you a background of who I am, for those who are not yet familiar, I've started working since 2011 when I graduated with the degree of BS in Industrial Engineering from Batangas State University, the National Engineering University. And I spent quite some time being part of the university on a part-time employment status. And then 2011, latter part of that year, I was employed with San Miguel up until 2014, where I decided to go full-time as a consultant at a young age of 24. And then after which I spent some time doing full-time consulting, and then after that I onboarded another company. It's a multinational company, semiconductor related, and I am assuming the position of process excellence engineer. So after quite some time, I got promoted to becoming the process excellence manager. And this is where most of my career in terms of Lean Six Sigma has been developed moving forward. And then we started Aslex 2016. And then after three or more than 3 years or around 4 years, I actually left uh, that company where I was employed as a process excellence manager. And then I went full-time consulting, doing the business starting 2019 up until today. So if you can see on the rightmost part of my journey as an industrial engineer practitioner, so I've got a lot of things before me. So we've been doing a lot of things here at AskClicks, and I know that some of you may be part of those things, like this free learning sessions that we're doing. We have also a lot of free e-learning, but now we're in the middle of a migration from our old platform to serve you hashtag significantly better. We're doing some improvements, so some of the courses are not yet available, and we're really fine tuning things. So those are things that I'm doing. And maybe you're asking why sustainability? I mean, why should you listen to someone who has this background? Because even though if you're not seeing this, I'm actually a champion for UN Sustainable Development Goals. We are, as an organization, we are supporting goal number 4, quality education. We're supporting goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Goal number 17, partnership for the goals. So most of our projects, because we're doing a lot of projects for the community, are aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So that is why we were led to this. Now, what's gonna be the course of our discussion? We're gonna talk about sustainability, have some refresher on what really sustainability means. And as I mentioned, what are those UN Sustainable Development Goals? Maybe some of you are really quite familiar with it, but maybe some of you are totally new to this particular concept. And then we're gonna jump into the sustainability best practices for manufacturing companies, and what are the key takeaways and the reflections by far. All right, so I hope you're ready now to learn this thing about sustainability. As mentioned, let's have some recap on what sustainability means. But for this particular session to be more engaging, I want you to share your thoughts, your insights, your ideas using the chat box here at Zoom and using the comment section or field at YouTube. So I'll be reading some of your answers, and I'll gonna give you the next 1 minute to participate. So what is sustainability for you? From your own understanding, can you share what sustainability means to you? Okay. So please share your answers using the chat box. There's no wrong or right answer. It's really more of your perception of what really is sustainability. Because I know we have different perceptions about sustainability. This has been a very used word nowadays. It's if I may use the word buzzword. So I just want to know whether what are your thoughts about sustainability? So I hope I get some answers before we move to the next part. All right. I'm gonna read one. Able to maintain something over a period of time. That's actually a great definition. Thank you. We have sustainability is the ability to prevent and avoid harmful environmental effects in the expense of technological advancement. Wow, this is a great one. Thank you for this one. So this is like a common perception that sustainability is relative to, of course, the resources, natural resources that we have. We also have, it talks about maintaining. Keyword there is maintaining. Thank you. The ability to maintain or support a process continuously over time. So this is actually a good one also. Process oriented definition. So let's look over the other platform if there are like. All right, thank you. We also have this one from our YouTube platform. We have ability to maintain. All right. Something. Thank you. So, thank you everyone. We also have another one, the ability to maintain at a certain rate or level. All right. Thank you everyone for your engagements and to your inputs, your perceptions about sustainability. So let's try to uncover what really sustainability means. But before that, let's look into the statistics. In a report called Global Outlook on Sustainability, a consumer study published 2023 just this year, it says that 51% of global consumers believe that their country is suffering from climate change. If you're here in the Philippines, you can ask your parents or your uncles and aunties if it has been this hot before. Because if I can still remember, coming from those days as a 30-ish person living in the Philippines, I haven't experienced yet this kind of, of temperature before. So we are really experiencing firsthand the effects of climate change. 4 billion people experience water stress conditions. If you're not one of them, then you're very fortunate. Plastic pollution, as one of the top problems, of course, is the second biggest concern for consumers. And 44% of consumers feel that food is becoming unaffordable. Um, there is a mismatch, of course, between the demand and supply. So if there's too much food that is being supplied, wastage is high, but it's not true across locations. So it could be a case where in one location, like for example, the north part of the Philippines, there's too much like produce that is being um put into waste. Okay, but there could be other parts of the Philippines that could need more of that kind of produce. So if you're here again as a student or a graduate student, then you can read between the lines and take something out of it as your research moving forward. But yeah, talking about sustainability, sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Meaning, being sustainable is we experiencing the comfort of whatever resources we have or whatever resource are around us and also our next generations. So meaning we're trying to sustain, we're trying to maintain, we're trying not to deplete the resources so that other generations could also experience it. And this is a definition from the United Nations Brundtland Commission way back 1987. And this is also the same context why the UN Sustainable Development Goals was created. This set of goals was created. Now, what are the sustainability development goals or sustainable development goals? So this, as mentioned earlier, this was started and initiated by United Nations. The goals or this set of sustainable development goals, also known as UN SDGs, is composed of 17 goals. So let me try to read all of those goals so that you know and you become familiar or you become refreshed of what are those goals. So we have no poverty, we have zero hunger, we have good health and well-being, we have quality education, and this is one that we support, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy. Number 8 is decent work and economic growth. And number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Again, 8 and 9 are also goals that we support. Number 10 is reduce inequalities. 11, sustainable cities and communities. Next would be responsible consumption and production. 13 would be climate action, followed by life below water, life on land. 16 would be peace, justice, and strong institutions. And last but not the least, also one that we support, partnership for the goals. All right, so let's just pause and try to reflect. This from some of the inputs that we were able to capture earlier. Some of you mentioned about environment. So if you're here, okay, the context of sustainability is not limited to the environment. If you could see the 17 goals here, they are actually when you say sustainable, this could be like enablers or part of the ecosystem that would push for sustainability. So we're talking about like education related, we're talking about innovation related, we're talking about consumption and all that. So these are things that we could really support. If you're here as a student, you could support this. If you're here as a professional, we could adopt some of the practices that I'll be sharing, of course, later on. Okay. Now, what is meant by ESG? Maybe you're here as an employee, you might be hearing this. Maybe your company is actually doing this. But for those students or graduating students or young professionals that is not quite familiar, this is what ESG means. ESG, let me just try to clear. All right. ESG means, or ESG is a framework. It stands for environment, social, and governance. Okay. This is from the definition of Corporate Finance Institute. So ESG is a framework that helps stakeholders understand how an organization is managing risks and opportunities related to environmental, social, and governance criteria, sometimes called ESG factors. So someone mentioned about environment earlier. So this one is actually, if you're familiar with ISO, they have this 14001 environmental management system that is adopted. We have also the social part of it. We could say that this is the sustainability part, sustainable development part. Governance, we have a lot of leadership and management frameworks that we could use. ISO is one. We have Malcolm Baldrige. Okay, so we have a lot of frameworks. Okay, so what ESG means is that we're trying to get the overlap between all those frameworks and make sense of reporting what are the things that we're doing relative to the environment, to the community or the social, and how we run the organizations. So this talks about the use of the resources, taking care of your employees and all that. So that common ground is called the ESG. Again, ESG can be considered as integration of so many factors that are being used, or frameworks rather, that are being used before the inception of ESG itself. Okay. So what is the ESG framework really all about? So if we go into environment, we are seeing actually direct and indirect greenhouse emissions, management's stewardship over natural resources. Okay, so this talks about leadership as well, because if you can see here, okay, this is called the Venn diagram, by the way. There is an intersection between the governance and environment. So when you look at the environment, there is also a leadership or management component. Overall resiliency against physical climate risk. For our social, we're talking about fair wages, we're talking about employee engagement, we're talking about impact on communities. That is why if you see it like similar to your corporate social responsibility, that's actually correct. Okay. And you also have governance. We're talking about management of your stakeholders, okay, your shareholders, okay, internal controls to promote transparency and accountability across the organizations, and the things that you are doing relative to either environment or social, if you would look into this particular Venn diagram. Okay, so why is it important to know this? Because this ESG is something that companies are adopting right now, because most of investors, they look into whether companies are putting much effort and attention to reporting their ESGs. All right, so it's called sustainable investing. Okay, now the reporting part, so you're applying, right? You're applying the framework. The reporting part is something covered in what we call the GRI. What is GRI? GRI, or who is GRI? GRI is actually it's like a big project. Okay, it stands for Global Reporting Initiative. So this is an independent international organization. Probably we could say like somehow similar to ISO in a way, that helps business and other organizations take responsibility for their impacts. So as mentioned, these are impact factors: environmental, social, and governance, right? By providing them with a global common language to communicate those impacts. So the GRI Secretariat is headquartered in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and have a network of 7 regional offices to ensure that they can support organizations and stakeholders worldwide. So just like the common management systems that organizations are using, GRI provides like certain guidelines in terms of how they would report, how they would measure these impacts that we have mentioned from the ESG. So if you're interested to know more, you can actually visit their website and look for how you could adopt some of their reporting methods or the reporting initiative at large. Now, on top of that, of course, before you can report something, you have to understand that there are already practices that are out there and it's being used. Okay? And what we're going to do in the next succeeding slides, we're going to try to explore some of those sustainability best practices for manufacturing companies. Maybe some of them will be applicable also to industries in the from the service or academe or government. But this time, we're gonna quite focus on the manufacturing companies. Okay? So we have here, I have prepared like, how many is this? 7. So every letter corresponds to one particular item in this particular slide. So it's abbreviated, no, the acronym rather is SUSTAIN. So first would be sustainable supply chain management. Next would be utilization of renewable energy. Third would be sustainable product design, followed by waste reduction and resource efficiency. We also have advanced technologies and automation. Next would be innovation and circular economy. And last but not the least would be nurturing employee engagement and education. So we're gonna go and explore each and every slide moving forward. And again, if you have questions, please take note of them, and we're gonna try to answer them as we move to the Q&A portion. Okay. Okay, so let's start with sustainable supply chain and management. Okay, so as you may already know, because of what happened few years back, 2-3 years back, the supply chain in overall, in overall aspect has been disrupted. And with this disruption, also the application and adoption of sustainability best practices has been very rampant, and it has been very visible. So um, when we talk about sustainable supply chain management, we're talking about, let's say, for example, on the first bullet, it says here, assessing and selecting suppliers based on their environmental performance, ethical practices, and adherence to sustainability standards. In the common context of supplier selection, we need at least three suppliers. Say, for example, if you need to buy certain raw materials, you need three suppliers of that certain raw material for you to qualify. And then later on, the bidding process will come into the picture, and the bid winner will be awarded this particular business of sourcing the raw materials from them. But nowadays, of course, we're talking about sustainability. The selection process also involves certain criterion that focuses on whether this particular supplier that we're trying to qualify, that we're trying to consider, is or are they practicing this, what we call the sustainability practices? I mean, do they practice the next set of things that we're gonna talk about? Okay. So do they have this environmental management system? Are they fair enough to their employees? Things like that. So the role of what we call supplier quality engineers also extends to this degree, taking into account and looking at the sustainability practices from the supplier side. Okay. And we're also talking about collaboration with suppliers that can lead to shared goals and innovation. When you say collaboration, there could be like certain challenges or problems that a company experience, but across the supply chain, we're talking about across the supply chain. So, say for example, they're having difficulty of acquiring the required number of inventory for their supplies at a certain amount of time because of funding issues or financing issues and like that. So nowadays, we're again, sustainability doesn't only mean environment, right? So you want to make your business sustainable, so meaning that there will be minimal disruptions or no disruptions at all when it comes to producing and manufacturing your output that is intended for your customers, right? So you would want to make sure that there is a stable flow, consistent flow of your raw materials to your factory and your output to your consumer across all the value stream or the supply chain. So partnering with them to solve certain problems with supply would be a best example. Consider partnering with suppliers that prioritize renewable energy sources, implement waste reduction strategies, or promote social responsibility initiatives. So it's really more of aligned with UN SDG goal number 17, that you partner or you award your business to those who are also in the same space of making their business sustainable. So if you're familiar with Deming's 14 points, so it's something that you could find there, one of the 14 points that is something that's aligned to what we are also discussing right now. Okay? So that's one thing for sustainable supply chain management. Number two, letter U, is utilization of renewable energy. So nowadays, you maybe came across a lot of Facebook ads that offers installing like a solar power system in your households, right? To reduce the consumption coming from the main grid, and to reduce your billing or your bills, right? So in the industrial scale, this is something that is really being practiced. I can still remember 10 years ago when I was still with this company. I suggested this, but they basically turned down the idea, probably because my idea during that time was too advanced. I mean, it's not yet being adopted during that time. So, but right now, though, solar panels and harnessing the power of the sun is not new, but it's more of the adoption, I would say. So we're not just talking about solar energy, we're also talking about wind power. So there are companies that use this particular or adopt this particular practice because of course they want to reduce the energy consumption for like some of their facilities, but at the same time this would also help us to reduce what we call the carbon footprint rather, because carbon footprint are being measured as well. So that is one of the areas that is being reported, okay, under ESG and GRI. So the installation of solar panels on manufacturing facilities, utilizing geothermal heating and cooling systems, or procuring renewable energy through power purchase agreements are effective methods to embrace clean energy. It was just known to me that if your system, I mean the system that collects the energy or collects and stores the electrical energy from these natural resources or renewable sources, you could actually sell this to like the main electricity provider. So if you have like excess to what you need from your storage facility of your electricity of some sort, so you can actually sell this. Okay, so it has known to me just recently. Okay, so yeah, that is I think what is meant by the purchase agreements and all that. But yeah, if you could like install like in your guardhouse at least, maybe some things like that. And one thing also that I've seen is the use of rainwater for like general purposes, for the collected water for like for example cleaning certain area. That's actually also one of my idea way before, but they basically turned it down as well. Again, another maybe advanced sort of idea during the time, but it's actually being done right now since you should put those kind of resources into some use, okay, not just to waste it. So yeah. And that's all. That's for letter U. For letter S of the sustainable product design. You might be here as an engineer or analyst who's assigned with product design. So this is actually a good call to action for you guys that whenever you design things, no, also for those future designers, product designers, the students. So there are a lot of things that you need to consider. I don't want to preempt, but there's going to be a discussion similar to this, but let's focus on this one. Considering materials, energy consumption, waste generation, and end of life disposal. So in the typical product life cycle management, some of those are not included, but if we would look into it, there's a thing called circular economy. That's another thing that we're going to be discussing later on, but it's heavily related to that, heavily aligned to that. So if you would see here from raw materials extraction to the actual use in our facility to distribution to actual use, and what happens next? If let's say for example our phones is not usable anymore, what do we do with the phones? Okay? Are they thrown into some like recovery facility, or are they being dumped just in the landfills wherein it could cause harm again to the environment, and not only to the environment but to us um human beings? Or is it being recycled? Okay, right now I have this mini project that I'm doing. Before pandemic, I'm looking for a partner that is actually doing recycling of electronic devices. But right now, what I have in mind following this, just to help on the part of end of life, and not this electronic devices, especially laptops, ending on the landfills. If you're here, or if you know someone who has a spare working laptop, or maybe a laptop that needs repair that you would want to donate to students who don't have laptops, you could actually coordinate with us via our page, and you could exchange that for some credits for trainings, or for trainings that would cost this much, and based on the evaluation or valuation of your laptop. So we'll not benefit from it. We're gonna find students who could benefit from this particular project, especially those who needs laptop but can't buy or afford one. So that's things that we could consider, as part of our help. But going back to product design, I mean, there are a lot of things that could be considered. There's a shoe company that is collecting plastics from, plastics as part of their raw materials now. So they're not using nylon, or what do you call the material used for shoes? Not 100%, 90% recycled, and only 10% virgin material. So they're collecting PET bottles from the ocean, and they have now a process that transform this into nylon, and they use it to manufacture the shoes. And whenever they manufacture and sell the shoes, it's actually indicated in the shoes that this is made of 90% this material, recycled material, and 10% of this material. Okay? And so there's also, but as product sustainable product designers, I would suggest that you also consider what is the cost of, for example, that particular example that I have mentioned. If we put another process to recycle the PET bottles, how much carbon emission will it provide, or will contribute to the environment? How much resources is needed? Because we might have that in mind, the way on how to capture some of the waste and convert them into something that's useful, but we also have to see the trade-off between this that we're doing good, but we might overlook the impacts, the negative impacts. So maybe point for consideration also when we're trying to design those, part of the sustainable product design. We look also on those areas. Okay. There's also this thing called design for disassembly. So an approach which allows easier component separation during recycling, facilitating, and the reuse of valuable material. Sometimes it's called, I think I don't know if it's quite the same with upcycling, but yeah, those are things that we could also consider. Okay? That's why you can see material recovery facilities as well in LGUs or in barangays. So those are things that, we can look into consideration. Point of research, point of, maybe you're here, you would want, you're into startup like me, you find this as something that is a pain point to a certain community that you would want to solve and start a startup. So yeah. So that's letter S. We move to waste reduction and resource efficiency. So we're talking about, tools and techniques, methodologies that helps us reduce the waste and improve our efficiencies. So if you're here, you're quite familiar with, Lean Six Sigma. There has been this new upcoming approach, not new, but it has been there for quite some time already. Of course, with the rise of sustainability, it has been introduced, the Green Lean Six Sigma approach. So it's like combining the area where you want to reduce environmental impacts, environmental waste through the use of efficient resources, which basically, if you say, for example, if you talk about reduction in consumption of certain raw materials or use of like particular energy, it actually talks about it. So if you're here, you're in the space of continuous improvement or process improvement or optimization. Well, you might be surprised that you're actually contributing to, making your processes or making your organization embracing and adopting sustainable practices. Okay. So this can be achieved through process optimization, recycling initiatives, and waste to energy conversion, and like that. So if you can see on the third bullet, we're talking about productivity improvement projects. We're talking about efficiency improvement projects, not just about problem solving. We're talking about optimization and even probably innovation on the things that you are doing in your processes. So, I mean, it's not stated there that you're doing a sustainable Lean Six Sigma, but it actually flows up to that particular objective. We also have advanced technologies and automation. We know, of course, that we're now in the era of Industry 4.0. There's been a lot of adoption of artificial intelligence, chat GPT is there. Not only chat GPT, but also the cyber physical systems that we are employing inside our organization. So of course, there's this discussion on the threat of, this cyber physical systems, the AI. But if you would look at it, sometimes the use of resources really are reduced because of, these advanced technologies and the automation thereof. But always remember that the automation, you need to streamline first your process, because if your process is full of waste or your process is not streamlined enough, so the things that causes you to consume more, which is not, a good sustainability indicator, would be part also of the automation. So what I'm trying to say here is that streamline the process first, then do the automation. Okay. So implementing of smart sensors and real-time monitoring systems enables an efficient resource utilization. This is actually in connection also to the previous one that we have, risk reduction and efficiency improvements. So reduces energy consumption and helps detect and rectify inefficiencies. So just imagine if you have a lot of, errors or rejects or defects. So, but you still need to recover that, right? So you're like the usual, you're investing resources that would not create new units, right? But rather just to correct it. So the implication is, again, the use of the utilities, the use and the emissions through the process that we're using, the use of electricity. So that particular cycle that we want to avoid. That's why we're trying to automate to lessen the errors. Okay, so robotics and automation can streamline processes, but as mentioned, before doing this, try to make sure that your process is optimized relative to its current use, okay, things like that. Enhance workplace safety. Okay. So many of the companies are actually adapting with the digitalization, so at certain degrees. So yeah, if your company is not yet doing that, so probably you need to start doing it. But again, always look at the trade-offs. So it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is using it, someone's doing it. They just apply it directly. So there are sometimes discussions. There are sometimes these trade-offs, that whether is it something that would help us really, or something that would, we blindly adopt without looking into the consequences and trade-offs and whatnot. So really, we need to look at that. Okay. And last but not the least, for this particular case would be nurturing employee engagement and education. So you might be, let's say, for example, you might want to deploy this adoption of best practices, okay, of the sustainability best practices to your organization. But if you don't start pitching, especially the leadership, if they don't start supporting and telling people that they need to be engaged, they need to be, participative of what we're trying to do relative to the sustainability implementation or practices implementation. So it's gonna be hard. Basic principle of change management, you have to make people be aware of what is the change for, to create a desire, right? To create knowledge, to make sure that they are knowledgeable, that they can actually apply the change, and it's being reinforced from time to time. So I think one component that would be very, very important is that people like you're here, you're watching, you're taking this course. It's because you're interested to try and adopt and be like the beacon of adoption in your organization. But it will be very difficult if it's gonna be you and yourself alone, right? So there should be campaigns that would, create a comprehensive training program and promote, the awareness of um the sustainability practices, okay, and how it could benefit you as an individual, an employee, part of an organization, and as, someone who is outside the organization as the member of a society. So there are also cases that, you know being engaged, like there could be like a best practice like this one, that you've maybe pick up from one of a conference that you attended, but you can really push for that. So engagement in such a way, the traditional one wherein you collect the suggestions, okay? So you could actually do that, okay? So just like how you collected like innovative ideas or maybe like a continuous improvement ideas or something like that. And as part of that particular system, then you can also reward people who are suggesting sustainable practices, okay? Not only for the entire organization, but maybe probably in his particular process. I can still remember someone who is an engineer from a previous organization that I was able to work with. It's not actually part of his KPI, but um, the machine is actually using like a fluorescent lamp, okay? So that to of course to light the machine whenever you need to put something like load a part in the machine and all that. And then he just figured out, or he just thought of, why not try using, let's say, a LED light compared to a fluorescent lamp, or a typical lamp or bulb, which basically consumes lesser energy. Okay, so it's not part of his KPI during that time, but he saw that now it could actually help reduce the consumption, okay, of energy. It could reduce the cost, okay, of running the process somehow. And but there's no like direct program that he can participate, and he doesn't know that it's something that should be shared. So those kind of opportunities we missed because we don't have this kind of engagement programs in place, or education programs that are in place. So aligning also with values of the employees in terms of sustainability, and creating that would basically, take a ripple and create more resilient and socially responsible employees. And that would at a, integrative to, being a responsible organization. So yeah, um we also have innovation circular economy. This is one thing, not here in the Philippines, but in the US it's actually a thing, the circular economy. We have some organizations now applying circular economy aligned with the sustainable product design. And there are also one company that I know in terms of clothes. They're actually recycling clothes. Old clothes are they actually buy it and try to sell it. It's like a modern ukay-ukay, but their main objective is to really not to put the clothes in the bins, in the landfills, because clothes, they're not actually they're non-biodegradable. Okay, so yeah, that's only one example. So if you would look into the circular economy, it's really something that would entail the use and reuse, upcycling, recollect, separation of some components, reusing it, and not only trying to consume, extract, but trying to replenish what you're trying to use or what you are using. So it's actually what here it's called a closed loop. Okay. So the key here is really coordinating, collaborating with stakeholder across your supply chain, your value chain, your ecosystem. Okay. So if you're not doing it yet, integration is one thing, but collaboration is another. So you might want to consider this as early as possible. So with that, let's go back. Okay. So I don't know why is it what happened here, but supposedly it's gonna be sustained. Okay. So sustainable supply chain management, utilization of renewable energy, sustainable product design, waste reduction, and resource efficiency. I'm curious what happened to that. But anyways, it should be sustained. But yeah. Advanced technologies in automation, innovation and circular economy, nurturing employee engagement and education. So those are things that you could consider. And of course, if you dive, you would see a lot of things that you would be surprised. Okay? That there are a lot of researches also that's aligned, like for example, why companies are not adopting yet to these practices, or why consumers are more lenient to adapt to buying from companies who have like visible, sustainable practices that they're adopting or that they have adopted, things like that. So there's a lot of things outside in the internet that you could actually refer or make use of. So with that, I guess I have completed my role for tonight. So as I always use, to sustain or not, or to sustain or not to sustain, or to sustain or no to sustain. What happened to my deck? That is the question. So it's really matter of adopting. Um, it's not the case that we're all on the same pace right now, but if we could take our part and role and try to educate other people that there are things that we could do, it's not necessarily very grandiose things, but contributing in the ways that we can could mean a lot if we consolidate all of those efforts. So with that, I am now open to any questions that you might have. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned a thing or two. Okay, so the floor is now open for any of your questions. Okay, so people from YouTube and yeah, people from YouTube, which is 85 of them are there, and we have about 100 here at Zoom. All right, we have a very good question from Angelica Navarro. Hi, Angelica. In the ESG framework, in your opinion, which one is the most challenging to maintain or sustain? I guess social would be one. Because you have to, for me, in my opinion, I guess social would be one. Sometimes we focus on the environment, we focus on the people within our organization in terms of governance, but at times we forget to, like, let's say for example, to like adopt when I say social, I'm not talking about people within the organization anymore. I'm talking about communities that supposedly are being helped or adopted by, especially by big organizations. I guess that's one thing that lacks. That is why I actually support and partner with NGOs or social civic organizations. But I do hope that you know uh, with more organizations coming into the ESG framework, they would focus really on those things, because this two things here on the environment and the governance, it's something that they could do like within, but this one is they should be integrating with the community and all. I hope I was able to give my insight, and it's not a um hard and stone answer because it's in my own opinion. But thank you for that good question, Angelica. I don't know what's the context of your question, sir, Angelo, about marketing analysis. But if you could like dwell or explain, elaborate more about it, I would appreciate it before I give my insights about it. All right. How about on our YouTube? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of reactions here at YouTube. Thank you, everyone. But if you have like questions, please do let me know. Okay. For those who are really interested, there are a lot of resources that you can take from different platforms. For my case, I'm trying to formalize my education in sustainability. I There's an organization called ISSI, International Society of Sustainability ISSP, International Society of Sustainability Professionals, I think. So there's like they have the course that you could take. And if you want to be certified in that particular, let's say, sustainability practice as a certified sustainability practitioner or associate, something like that, you could actually take that. Because being a sustainability professional is an actual job in some of the organizations that I know. So you might also want to consider that relative to growing your professional career. Okay? 2 more minutes. If there are no questions in the next 2 minutes, we're gonna go to the next part or next segment. But if you do have, please um send us your questions. Well, another question from Angelica. What is our the showstoppers that we need to watch out if we will engage into sustainability? Um, I guess if you want to be like a hardcore sustainability player, one thing for sure, it's not gonna be cheap. Like for example, if you would want to engage yourself in sustainable production, like production and consumption, some of the alternative materials with the kind of materials that we're having, they're not actually cheap. So you might like involve um R&D. So you would be putting, cost to that, investments to that. And even if you don't do that, if you try alternative, like say for example, alternative inputs to the current inputs or regular inputs that you're using, if it's something that's sustainable, it's not typically cheap. It's always more than the common price. So I guess the the funds to finance your sustainability efforts moving forward is one factor that would be what one factor that will be a deciding factor moving forward. So yeah, I would say that, yeah, unless otherwise, yeah, you have so much funds and you've collaborated with like key players or stakeholders so that you can like capitalize on probably economies of scale to that point. So yeah. All right. So is sustainability the same as green economy? Well, to tell you honestly, Miss Engineer Delphine, I'm not really sure whether sustainability is being used as an equivalent to green economy because mm, if I just read within the words, sustainability is, it's more of an effort of greater scale. Probably green economy would be the same, but could be applicable to certain industries. I'm not really sure. I'm just trying to speak. I'm just speaking my thoughts out of my head. But yeah, if you could give me time to look at it, I'll be glad to answer you offline. Sorry if I cannot answer it right here. Yeah. Talking about sustainability, best practices within the manufacturing industry, or maybe no other industries, are there related awards and recognitions to further promote ESG and significance of the sustain? Well, for that matter, yes, there are organizations. There is a movement. I just forget the title of the particular movement or initiative that really collects like your efforts that you're doing relative to the application of sustainability following the UN Sustainable Development Goals. There's one award, one company here in the Philippines just won that, and there are other sustainability related awards that are that companies could apply for. So to your question, yes, that's one thing that has been identified already by certain business and business models. So yeah. And if you actually, if you actually apply the sustain, it's something that would benefit you, not just for the awards, but also like some pillars there that supports not only sustainability, but let's say operational excellence and digital transformation. So yeah. All right. So thank you. So I guess with the limited time that we have, we need to we need to close this session. Let me just Sorry, let me just prepare the next set of materials. So for those who are asking for the attendance form is always provided towards the end of our session. So let me just share our. All right. So again, thank you everyone for joining the session with me on sustainability best practices in manufacturing industries. Of course, with me, Felix Viroya, founder and CEO of Aslax PH Academy. And we've done the Q&A. Again, we would like to thank our partners, iExcel CIE Review Center, Blessed to Us, and Startup Podcast PH. You can always please follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. You can also visit us probably in the next coming days as we're trying to revamp our platform to make it #significantly better. And for some of the programs, this will be very quick. We have our live online Yellow Belt program happening this June 24, 25, July 1 and 2. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you are interested, you could visit us and look at our page and try to inquire on our page to learn more. We have our self-paced Yellow Belt as well. We have our project management happening this June 24. Our Lean Six Sigma will happen. We're gonna start another cohort probably July. So if you're here, and you want to join, you could actually join. And what's good about this, there's gonna be a no credit card requirement, 6, 9, or 12 months installment option that will be available. So it's probably something around 2,000 per month, and you can get your Greenbelt training from us. So if you're interested, just message the page. Also, we have our self-paced programs. Black Belt, if you're interested with the Black Belt program, same thing. There's going to be a 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months, no credit card required installment option for you guys. Kaizen Professional, online certified data engineer. If you're into data science, data and engineering and analytics, this one is going to be a great program for you. So try to inquire at our page. If you would want to experience again, face-to-face classes, we're going to be here at Batangas on June 24 25 for a combined Yellow and Project Management Fundamental Certification at FPIP. That's going to be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This will also be activated through the financing option. And if you're from the Davao area, we're going to fly to Davao. Okay? Yan. So for the self-paced, these are the list. And again, you can join us a group. We're looking for partners always and ambassadors. So just send us a message if you are interested. Okay. So with that, this is the requirements for the attendance. So please make sure that you have provided the correct information. Okay. Okay. Oh, I can't post it on YouTube. I don't know why. So I hope our friends from YouTube can see this link. Okay. All right. So of course, make sure that whatever you learn from this one, you try to see whether it's applicable to your organizations, the best practices and whatnot. And if you have more questions about how you could, participate and launch these programs, please feel free to connect with me at LinkedIn, in Facebook. You can send us an email, and we will try to, help you out. And you can also invite me for free talks in your organization, 2-3 hour talk would be fine. So if you're interested with that, so just send us a message and we can talk more about it. Thank you again, and make sure that you provide the correct information in the evaluation form, and we're gonna close this after 30 minutes. Thank you, everyone, and see you again on another Alpha TV episode next week. Thank you. Let's continue to be hashtag significantly better through accessible and sustainable lifelong learning together. Bye. Thank you.